The endocrine system, right? You know from anatomy 1 that a group of cells gives you tissues, tissues give you organs, organs are going to give you systems, and systems are going to give you organisms, right? So then, therefore, if this is the endocrine system, then we are right here. Then that means that we need to talk about organs. Okay, so then in the endocrine system, the organs are going to be, right? So this is going to be the endocrine system. The organs are going to be glands. And what the glands are going to do, they're going to produce hormones. For all the questions regarding the endocrine system, the answer for the endocrine system is going to be either a gland or the hormone. Those are the main things that you need to know about the endocrine system, nothing else. Now, a couple of words about glands. Remember, we have endocrine glands. Those are the ones that we're going to cover here. And exocrine glands. Exocrine glands are the ones that produce substances and they secrete to the outside. That's why they're going to be called exos, such as, for example, sweat. Right? So in here, we're going to talk about endocrine. Why they're called endocrine glands? Because whatever they produce, they're going to secrete it inside our body, especially in our blood. Like, for example, insulin, right? And then we're going to cover this in anatomy 2, and that's what we're going to be looking at. Okay, so then we have glands, and we have an endocrine glands, right? Because this is going to be the endocrine system, and we're going to have in there hormones, such as, for example, insulin. Okay, right here you have some of the glands that we have, such as the hypothalamus, as you can see right there. Okay, we're going to have the pituitary gland. Those are going to be other glands as well. So then where are these two glands, for example, located? Well, let me see. Oh, there we go. We have a figure right there. So then what controls everything in your body, guys? Your brain, right? So what part of your brain is in charge or controlling everything that got to do with your glands? Well, this part right here, which is going to be your hypothalamus, and this one right here, which is going to be your pituitary gland right there. So if we make this larger, that's what you have right there. Okay, so this is the hypothalamus, and this is the pituitary gland. What is the job of that? Remember what I told you? That in this chapter, everything is either a gland or a hormone. So then what is this gland? What is this part of the brain? This is going to be a hypothalamus. What the hypothalamus is going to be doing? Release hormones. Then the hypothalamus communicates with the pituitary gland. That's a gland. What is it going to do? Release hormones. Now, since these ones are in the head, these ones are in our brain, so these ones are the ones that are going to be controlling everything. What do I mean by everything? Well, all the glands that you're going to have below your neck, basically. Okay? So I always like to call this way. So look, I always say that the hypothalamus is like the owner of the business. The pituitary is like the manager of the business. And all the other glands are the employees. So who calls the shots? The owner. Now, the owner, does he talk to the employees? No, the owner talks to the manager. And who talks to the employees? Well, the manager. How is it that the owner, the hypothalamus, talks to the manager? With hormones. And how is it that the manager is going to talk to all the employees? With hormones. And what the employees are going to do as a consequence of that? Release hormones. Don't forget, what are the glands that we have? Well, we have the thyroid gland, right? We have the thymus. We have the adrenal gland, which is on top of your kidneys. We have right here the pancreas in there. Right? In the case of females, they have the ovaries, right? Females produce hormones, right, in the ovaries. And the counterpart of that in males are going to be the testicles, right? For example, males produce testosterone. So if we scroll down right here, the pituitary gland has two parts. The anterior, as you can see here, so the manager has two parts, the anterior pituitary and the posterior pituitary. Okay, that's what you see right here. Anterior pituitary and posterior pituitary right here. So this guy right there, that's the manager. This guy on the top, right, this guy right there, that's the owner, right? That's the hypothalamus, right? So then how is it that the hypothalamus communicates with the pituitary? It's going to communicate two ways, either through blood, that's why you see here blood, or through nerves, as you can see right here. You see there are nerves in there. That's why it has two lobes, basically, right? This is the anterior lobe, and this is the posterior lobe. So the hypothalamus communicates with the pituitary either through blood right here, or with the posterior pituitary through the nerves, as you can see right there. Okay, and what is it that the hypothalamus is going to do with this blood and with these nerves right here? Well, that's the way the hypothalamus is going to release the hormones. Remember that, to communicate with the pituitary gland. That's the main thing, at least at this time, regarding pituitary and hypothalamus. So let's talk about some of the glands that we have in the body, you know, some of the employees, right? For example, we have the thyroid gland, right? The thyroid gland produces two hormones. One of them is the T3 and T4 or thyroid hormones, as you can see here, right? T3 and T4 right there. And also produces another hormone called calcitonin right there. What T3 and T4 are going to do, they're going to help you with the metabolism in your body. So this metabolism means how fast or how slow your body is going to work. And then this one, calcitonin, is going to help you decrease the levels of calcium in blood. You can see that it has lobes, 1 and 2, and then the bridge right here, that's going to be called the isthmus. And when you cut the thyroid and you put in the microscope, you can see in there that it's going to have 2 different types of cells. This group of cells that are going to form this sort of lake in there, these are going to be called the follicular cells. This sort of lake is going to be called the follicle. And it's pinkish and reddish like that because in order for you to have thyroid hormones, you need to have iodine. Iodine is very important for the formation of thyroid hormones. So then these cells right there surrounding this lake are going to be the follicular cells, and those are the ones that produce T3 and T4. In between these lakes, these follicular cells, you're going to have these other cells right there. And those are going to be parafollicular cells. They are the ones that produce calcitonin. Let's keep going. Let's see what we got in here. Well, we have the parathyroid gland. The para in medical terms means next to it. Because if we look over here again, look, you see here the parathyroid glands. See, this is the anterior view of the thyroid. This is the posterior view of the thyroid. And in the posterior view, you see the parathyroid right here. Most everybody has 4 parathyroid glands right there. Okay, and what the parathyroid glands are going to do, they're going to produce parathyroid hormone. What the parathyroid hormone does is going to increase the levels of calcium in blood. And our calcitonin decreases calcium levels, parathyroid increases calcium levels, and you know that from anatomy 1. Thymus right here is more or less in between your neck and your heart. That's more or less where it's located. And in our case, at our age, after you are 20, basically, right, your thymus basically doesn't work anymore. It shrinks and it no longer works. It works a lot and it's relatively large in kids. And it produces hormones such as thymosin and thymopoietin, very important hormones in order to help us with the maturation of the defenses that we have in our body. Now, another gland that we're going to have is the adrenal gland. The adrenal gland is on top of your kidneys, and it's going to have 2 areas, the outside cortex, the inside medulla. The outside cortex is going to have 3 areas, and they're going to be called zonas. So the cortex is going to have 3 zonas: zona reticulara, zona fascicularis, and zona glomerulosa. And the medulla has only medulla right there. Why am I saying that? Because you're going to produce 4 different hormones. You see, you have in here basically 1 hormone from each one of the zonas, plus the hormones produced in the medulla. So if you look over here, it says adrenal cortex right there, right, which is this part right there. It says zonas. So there you go. You see, it says zona glomerulosa right here. Zona fascicularis right here. And zona reticularis is right here. Okay, and as I said, each one of these zonas is going to produce more or less different hormones. Zona glomerulosa produces mineralocorticoids, such as aldosterone, for example. Zona fascicularis is going to produce glucocorticoids, such as, for example, cortisol. You can see that in here. Zona reticularis is going to produce a lot of gonadocorticoids, which are going to be, substances that eventually are going to be turned into testosterone and estrogen, depending whether you are male or female. What is aldosterone? Aldosterone is going to help us retain salt in order to increase the levels of water in blood. Glucocorticoids you're going to have in here, an example is cortisol. Cortisol is going to help us with the metabolism of carbohydrates. And also it's a very important anti-inflammatory. And then I already talked about corticoids, which are going to be transformed later on into estrogen and progesterone. And estrogen and progesterone are very important in order to develop and maintain the reproductive organs. In the adrenal medulla, we have in there 2 other hormones, epinephrine and norepinephrine. As you can see right there, epinephrine and norepinephrine are going to help us with the fight or flight. For example, when you're taking the test, heart is going to be beating faster and things like that, so because that's what's known as the fight or flight reaction, and that's what you have right here. Epinephrine and norepinephrine are going to be responsible for that. If we keep moving, we have in here another gland, which is going to be the pancreas. Pancreas has 2 main jobs. One of them is for the digestive system, and the other one is for the endocrine system. The pancreas is going to be more or less like this. Okay, and in here you're going to have a whole bunch of cells. And this cell right here that I'm making these drawings in this drawing in green, this thing in green is just for educational purposes. Right, all this part in green All that is going to be for the digestive system. The part that relates to the endocrine system is going to be in these sort of islands that you're going to have in there in your pancreas right there. Therefore, these ones are going to be called, you can see here, pancreatic islets or islets of Langerhans. Since we're not talking about the digestive system, let's disregard that. So let's just focus on the pancreatic islets. There are different hormones produced by the cells in your pancreatic islet. The ones that are most important, at least on this lab at this time, is going to be the glucagon and insulin. These two hormones are going to help us regulating the levels of carbohydrates in our blood. Insulin decreases the levels of carbohydrates in blood, and glucagon increases the levels of carbohydrates in blood. It has multiple different cells. As you can see here, you have different colors of cells. Alpha cells produce glucagon. Beta cells produce insulin. So we scroll down right there, and that's what you have right here. It says beta cells right there, insulin right there, and glucagon alpha cells. Okay, as we know, testicles produce testosterone, and this is going to help develop and maintain the sexual characteristics in males. And right here we have ovaries, same thing. There's going to be estrogen and progesterone, and these ones are going to help maintain and develop female reproductive system. Okay, so then let's keep moving. Right, this is the figure of the thyroid. And what you have in there is we cut it and we put in the microscope, and that's what you see. As we mentioned, in the thyroid, we're going to have some cells, right? We said these are going to be follicular cells and parafollicular cells. If we have two different types of cells, it's because we're going to have two hormones in the thyroid gland, right? Follicular cells right here, the ones that are going to form the lakes, this one's right there, and the ones in between the lakes, right? These ones, for example, right here, those are going to be the parafollicular cells. You have that in there. Now this one right here, so then that's the adrenal gland. You're looking at that in there. So we scroll down. Well, this is the pancreas, right? You can clearly see in here the island and all these other cells right here, right? And we said all these cells that are not the island, this is for the digestive system. And these cells that you have right there that are going to be the island, that's going to be for the endocrine system. So then let's keep scrolling. Right, you actually will look at this in the microscope, and here you will make your drawings